The other thing I remember was, perhaps comes under the health and safety aspect, two things about smoke. One was when I was in the, I think in the millwrights department again, one of the jobs I had to do, I went out with a guy who was just out of his time in the flat glass area, the factory building where the flat glass was. There was a pipe up the side of this building. I suppose it must have been about 40 or 50 feet tall. The pipe, steel pipe, about 12 inches diameter, and it, I believe, was part of the gas producing plant which had been discontinued. And for some reason the bottom part of this pipe was in the way of whatever they wanted to do. I can't remember now. But we went up there with the old oxyacetylene torch to cut the bottom off, which we started to do, and what we didn't realise until it was too late and we'd actually cut into it, that because it had been part of the gas plant, this pipe was liberally coated with tar. And of course, as soon as we put the old gas axe on it, it set fire to this, and there was a most enormous cloud of black smoke erupted from this thing. And of course, we'd gone too far. I think they did try and cap it, but it was too dangerous. And as they tried to cap the bottom of it, so the pipe disintegrated, and it just roared and roared and roared. And of course, it was the time when smokeless zone had just come in, and it belched filthy black clouds. I think it might have been a Monday, or perhaps that's just my lurid recollection. I know it made an awful mess of people's washing anyway, and I think the company had to pay the ladies of Smethwick compensation or something. It was the enormous mess we made, this huge clouds of black smoke. They just had to let it burn out, it just glowed red and disintegrated, and gobs of burning tar fell everywhere. The other thing on smoke was, I seem to remember when I was in the furnace engineer's office, the furnaces, some of the glass furnaces were oil fired, and they were of the sort, I don't think it's called reverbatory, where you've got the inlet flues on one side and the outlet flues on the other, and every half an hour or so you had a changeover, and that what was the inlet became the exhaust, and what was the exhaust became the inlet. The idea was that when it was the exhaust flue, it obviously got hotter and hotter and hotter, and to prevent it getting too hot, then you changed over so it became the inlet, and then sucked cold air in and cooled it down a bit for half an hour. And the problem they had was that they could never stop the thing smoking during the changeover period. Only minutes, but in the era of just introduced smokeless zone stuff, that was not good. They spent an enormous amount of time trying to develop different burner technology or timing technology or whatever to try and overcome this problem. I also remember that in the probably in the basement of the 7-storey building, by the flat glass furnaces, there was a canteen there, and it still had the the beer pumps on the counter. I was in the old, I don't know how long ago when I was there, but they used to, if you were on hot work like furnaceman, then you had so many pints of beer a day allowed. When I was there, it was only lemonade. You were only entitled to get a large bottle of White's lemonade. So many, I think, if you were on hot work, just because it was hot work. The other thing I remember about the Spon Lane entrance was we had amazingly, we used to get real pea super fogs. Perhaps they still do up in that neck of the woods, I don't know. Real pea super fog, but I remember in the early 60s we had real stinking fog. I can't remember how to walk. I think I was actually I probably groped my way home on the motorbike then, but I know when we came in the next day there was a Midland Red double-decker in the transport yard. He'd apparently come down Spon Lane, or come presumably up Spon Lane, and following one of the works trucks, and the truck had turned right into the works, and the bus driver had thought, oh, this must be the old road, and turned right as well. By the time he got in the transport yard, he obviously thought, oh, do it, and left it there, because the thought of reversing out was, I don't know what the passengers did, they probably had to get up and walk home, I suppose, but I remember one of the things we had to do in some part, I think I was in the millwrights department, was to actually go inside the boilers, because they turned them off, but they didn't ever wait for them to cool down completely. I seem to remember, whether you just went in there to shovel the sludge out the bottom, or whether you sort of went in, I don't think you ever actually descaled the things, probably just to shovel the the sludge out the bottom. It's usually a job for apprentices because they tended to be a bit smaller than the other blokes. Because they were, I think, Yorkshire pattern boilers, with the fire tubes and a chain grate stoker. And I remember they took this about a manhole on the top. You had to take that off and crawl inside once it was drained and the fire out, obviously.